Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarappal, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Folks, it's that time of the week again. It's time for us to spend some time together to feed our body, mind, and soul with some nourishing inspiration from movers and shakers from around the world. And you guessed it, today is no exception. In fact, today's show is on a topic we haven't really touched on up to date. So I'm super excited to dive into it. Now tell me, when was the last time you dove into your food, eating it with such divine pleasure rather than plunging guilt? Our next guest ate with pleasure, yet she suffered with neck pain, tummy issues, and depression. And after many tests and evaluations, saw that it linked back to what you ate rather than how you lived your life or other causes. At first she thought these surely couldn't be the causes. She ate well, lots of fruit, veggies, the superfoods, but she reacted to wheat, oats, rye, cow's milk, even the small amounts in chocolate. Oh my God, no. And particularly a natural occurring group of chemicals called amines. So curry, chocolate, red wine, and a heap of other foods she needed to either avoid or limit how much and often. Oh God, can you imagine? So she began a life with a silent disability. I mean, it's only food that's causing the symptoms, right? It's not like you can't walk or are missing limbs or something. And learning to work around all the foods that triggered emotional symptoms and inflammation was hard at first. But as with all things in life, baby, once you start a habit, it's not long after that the habit becomes the norm. And her norm led her to create a space that would help people learn to listen to their bodies. How often do we do that? To go beyond the outer beast and see the beauty and wonder that their own body was delivering, as individual as the house it was living in. Her childhood dream was to rescue the world from malnutrition. Instead, her path led her to teach people how they're nourishing their bodies and rescue them by holding space for them and education about how our emotions are triggers and how they react with food that can either nourish or slow us down. I'm honored to delve into today's episode with one and only Leah Marmulla. Hello, Leah. How are you?
Good. Thank you. That's a wonderful introduction. I haven't even thought of it like that.
When you put the pieces of the puzzle together, that's me, big picture chick.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's just so poetic and just so smooth.
Oh, cheers. Thanks, mate. I like that. I like to do my research. So share with us how your world changed when you made the discovery that it was the foods that were causing your body so much harm, and how you managed this, inverted commas, silent disability.
It was certainly a challenge because I was going through a very stressful part of my life anyway. And as a girl, we love our chocolate. We're addicted to it. Red wine, all the comfort foods, the slow cooked meats and all the rest of it, Amy loaded. And I remember very distinctly, I was at Christmas and I'd made a big slab of homemade chocolate. And we were having turkey that day and we had the plum pudding that I'd made. And I do plum pudding with a vengeance. There's a litre of alcohol in the pudding itself, let alone all the dried fruit and the chocolate and all the rest of it. So I actually had to go home with a migraine. I sicked up and got it out of my system. And then it was just like, right, I think I need to do something about this. I can't continue to live with migraines or really extreme fatigue, muscle aches and pains, not able to think, dysfunctional brain, the rest of it. So it's like, okay, what can we do? And as my clients, being a dietitian, my clients, my best teachers, they started showing up and saying, I have this symptom, I have that symptom, what are you going to do about it? So I was forced to learn. Not only for myself, but for the clients who are presenting. It's just like, okay, let's dive into this because this is where we need to go. So how did it change? It was quite frustrating at first because I hadn't learnt it at uni, and it was very much a self-discovery process. The neuro research when I went through 20-something years ago So I was like, I really didn't know. I honestly didn't know at that stage. And so lots of research, lots of reading, trial and error, looking at my symptoms, what improved and when it came back with a vengeance, and realizing, okay, that's that box, that box, that box. And it was the chocolate, the cow's dairy. Even the smallest amount in chocolate, as you mentioned, would be enough to flare it off. And breads, I can't eat dairy, I get suicidal with that. And yes, exactly. So gluten for me is really life-threatening in many, many ways. It does do my head in, literally. So things like that. And then when clients come and talk about their story, I can go, yeah, I can understand what you're saying. You're not abnormal. It's not in your head. You don't need antidepressants. We just need to stabilize your chemistry and test which foods work best for you.
That's amazing. Being a dietitian in today's world, I mean, eating clean isn't eating clean anymore. I mean, you could be eating veggie and fruit, but it's got so many chemicals in them. I was just watching some random video on Facebook how the potatoes from McDonald's, I mean, we all know McDonald's is horrible, but the potatoes are injected with so many chemicals that the farmers go into incubation for 6 weeks away from the potatoes before it actually gets sent to McDonald's. I'm like, what the fuck? So it's like, really? Is there a solution in sight for the future or the way things are going? Or how do you see it as a dietitian? Because it's like, really, this is like a never ending, it's just lies being fed. Like, what am I supposed to believe?
That is a really tough one. And as a health professional, I feel like my hands are tied in so many different ways, because one, we're meant to talk about dietary guidelines, which I don't, because I don't think they're real. And then it's the food industry, as you're talking about the farming industry, the chemicals that they've used, especially in Australia. You know, we use a lot of the Roundups and glyphosates. We are a wheat producing country in itself. And just a short incident, when I moved out to the wheat belt, I lost all my skin on my hands and my feet because I had a major reaction to being in the wheat belt and being gluten sensitive, or the Roundup that was doing the spraying at the crop time. So that was another really big eye opener for myself. But what do? Like, we just have to, I think, eat sensibly. And sometimes the processed foods are safer, believe it or not. So salicylates, amines, and glutamates are naturally found in fruit and vegetables. The organics are actually higher. So if you're going organic, really fresh foods, and you're reacting to these chemicals that are meant to be there, then you can actually make yourself sicker. And that was the other thing. I was eating well, but I was getting sick. And lots of my clients, arthritis, weight, inflammation responses, gut issues, they're eating all the right foods. They've gone paleo, or they've gone clean, or they've gone fresh or raw, and they actually get sicker. And so it's like bringing it right back, and let's go, what is your best food for you? Which fruits, which vegetables, what rate of seasoning, ripening process is right for you? And this was an interesting experience too. A client of mine put on a protocol, and she worked out there was a packet of chips that was safe for her in Australia. And yeah, she was able to snack on potato chips and didn't actually do anything to her body. And we thought, yes, there is at least one trick though that we can have. And to be honest, that was my lunch yesterday, because I was feeling quite ill. I had an overdose or something or other. And I actually had a lunch of cold crisps, as you call them, I think, over there. And I also took some medication just to help flush it through faster. And I was able to get back to work without any dramas.
It's amazing.
But if I would have forced myself a salad, I would have been sicker. And again, that's from experience. I would have been really ill by the end of the afternoon. So sometimes it's back to front.
We just land up so obsessed and focused on food rather than living our lives.
Yes.
How do you live your life when everything revolves around food? Oh, I can't go to that Barbie, or I can't go to the restaurant, and you don't know what they're going to be putting in the food, or you can't socialize with your friends, and that's the outsider type of thing. Oh, how do you live your life?
With challenges, I will admit it. It is actually really frustrating, because I'm in a small country town now in Broken Hill. You'll know it from the movie Mad Max and also Priscilla. But the food supply out here, although is very good generally, the restaurants haven't caught up with the concept of gluten-free. There's only 2 restaurants in town that actually understand that. So just that's one aspect of food. And then people who are reactive in other ingredients. It is a minefield. So we just get used to eating before we leave, or we take food with, or we just be honest with our friends. And if they're real friends, they go, oh, okay, well, what can I cook for you? Give me the recipe so I can actually make it with you or for you. If they're going to be offended, well, maybe they're not good friends after all. But it's really about honouring yourself and going, this is where my body in the moment, and if I push it, it's going to cause harm. If I neglect it, I'm going to get sicker. If I abuse it, then what's the point? And then it's really about accepting the fact. And that was a hard one for me as well. Like, I'm a dietitian, I'm in the health field. I can't eat this, this, and this, but I can eat junk food.
The irony, and that works. That's so funny.
Yeah, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And if you're going to sustain life, if that's a choice, then it really is about doing what works for the individual at that time, and knowing it may not be the right thing the next day or the day after that. And knowing that stress, we have a stressful life, most of us, puts it out of whack. If you get sick or cold, then the immune system's out of balance. If you eat foods, the gut microbes change in response to that, and that also triggers different symptoms too. So it's an extremely intricate spider web. And if you touch one little part of the spider web, what does the spider do? It comes and grabs it. So it's as simple and complex as that. Yeah, so I see my role as really being the investigator with them, because they know their own bodies, and asking questions and giving them strategies and techniques, and really looking at the emotional aspect as well. Why did it actually come on? Like, I know for me, myself, I know why. We're partly genetic. My dad's celiac, so it was partly genetic from that part, but I was extremely stressful situation when it really blew up, and all the associations that I'd made around that, and then with food on top of it. So you can anchor, and that's the scary part too. We anchor emotions and responses, and if we do it in an eating time, like an argument at dinner, so to speak, or a party, or you get rejected when you're eating or drinking, we can develop negative associations with food too.
That's pretty interesting. It's so interesting when you know from the mind the terms, but knowledge is useless unless it's applied. So that's really, really interesting. So how do you tackle, when you're focusing so much on your nutrition, whether you're being malnourished in terms of processed foods, because it works for you? Because, I mean, there's all these diet fads and we know they don't work, and it's really annoying because there's not one recipe for everybody. But we know for a fact that in order to stay healthy, your body, your temple, for the mind, body, and soul, is to properly eat. You need to eat, drink water, and exercise. And of course, the mind, like you were speaking about the anchors and stuff. So how do you work around this when there's disability with the eating and incorporating fitness? Because fitness, you need a lot of energy. You need to feed the muscles. You need to combat the fat, all those things. And if you're allergic or not that resistant to some things, how does it work there? How are you exercising?
Okay, so there's a few possible misconceptions. To be fit, you don't have to exercise, which is a bonus.
Big bonus. Yes. I like this, people. I like Leah.
So fitness is obviously of value, but generally just stretching in Pilates or yoga is fitness generating. You don't have to do weights. You don't have to run the gym. You don't have to do the treadmill. And just literally stretching and allowing the muscles and the bones to do their thing and creating resistance exercise makes a person fit. And when you've got intolerances, you can't stress the body because it tips it over the threshold too quickly. So it's about increasing flow, getting the energy like through the meridians. It's about increasing blood, literally stretching the blood vessels. So they've got another way of flowing around, because also when we're stressed, the muscles tighten up. So it's constrictive. So we need to relax, let the flow and let the energy move through, and let also the waste come back to the central core to be processed back through the liver and the kidneys and then put through the body. So to say that we have to exercise, for some body shapes better than not, but again, you don't want to stress the body when you're already stressed. And that is a big myth. No pain, no gain. I really don't prescribe to it, because pain is the last warning signal for the body to say, listen, mate, stop. We're not meant to go beyond that because it pushes the immune system. It's all firing off. And if we don't acknowledge that, and we don't respect this is the last red flag, it just pushes it too far, especially when you're toxic.
Sorry, why do you feel there's all these? I was just watching some other guy on social media, and he's doing his first Ironman on a vegan diet. It's like a huge thing for him, which I understand. I mean, you're changing your diet and everything like that. But like you were saying, no pain, no gain. That pain they see as pushing the envelope. Like, how far can I go? Is that more, and not related to man, woman, is that more the masculine energy that they haven't learned to be in a feminine energy of being, that there's no harmony over there? Or how do you see it? Like, why are they doing this?
I often wonder, actually. But I agree with you. We are it is progressing more to feminine, but it has been a very male-dominated theology for so long. The idea that you must strengthen up, be strong, the rest of it. And to all the bodybuilding, it is, in my mind, it's an ego thing. It is a proving to oneself that we can do something that we don't think we can do. So when you talk to bodybuilders and you think, why did you get into the game to begin with? A lot of the time they just weren't satisfied with what they were. Maybe they felt that they were overweight, maybe they were, that they didn't have the abs and they weren't sexy enough, and so they had to get the abs. Or maybe they'd be more noticeable when they're bulked up in the shoulders and being really that macho kind of guy. But when you still talk to them, especially when they don't continue that pathway and they come back to a normal shape again, the ego is still looking. They haven't found themselves yet in some ways. So it's such a complex issue. What we do to our body and why we think we need to do it can be very misunderstood. And there's also a theory of food intolerances linked around a control mechanism. At least food we can control, we can say, oh, I can't eat that. Or the fats, oh, I can't eat that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Why do we do that? Why do we actually say that? And that's part of what I'm self-exploring at the moment too, as to why I feel the need that I can't eat cow's milk, or I can't eat breads and eat out and that sort of thing. Do I have a control issue? And I would say, considering the time I developed it or came full blown, that there is possibly an association there. And so I'm looking at that for myself, and I can use it with clients and explore it with them too. And maybe open up another way of going, oh, I really need to heal that part of my history that I haven't been able to yet for a number of reasons.
That's incredible. That goosebumps. That is so cool. So like you would be able to heal yourself. Like you always hear these stories when folks have cancer or something where they're healing the emotional side first, the metaphysics first. Yes. And then I've always been allergic to this. One of my kids said to me the other day, oh, I think I have hay fever, or I'm allergic to hay. And I said, yeah, that was maybe just now, but it doesn't mean that you're always going to be allergic to hay. I was really proud of myself in that moment because I was like, I stopped the anchor over there where they thought I am allergic to this, because I always thought I was allergic to bees and I had a fear of bees because I got stung by it. But there was an anchor there. But I'm not. I mean, it just swelled up. But that is really, really interesting. I love that point of view. And what an amazing breakthrough, like doing this research that you're doing. That's incredible.
But when you get into metaphysics, as you said, you look at the masters of the space, and then you look at, well, the people I've been working with in my clinic, most of them have either a really traumatic childhood, whether emotional, sexual, or mental abuse.
Wow.
And so it's a lot of internalization and a lot of anger. And when you look at the liver as the organ that actually detoxes all these chemicals coming into the body, if you've got too much anger in your liver and it's clogged up, it can't do its job. So it's like really supporting the energetic and the emotional side and helping them to see that self-care is important, it's valuable and it's needed, and then learning how to forgive oneself at the time, whatever age they were at, and saying you only did what you had to do, you didn't know anything better, and helping them to forgive the parents or the perpetrators and that sort of situations, depending on what it is, and just helping them to see there is a different way. And I see it all the time, combining it with the food, changing the food choices to support their chemical body, the physical body, and then helping them work through the emotional aspects at the same time as they can, or maybe referring them on to trained people who are really trained in trauma, then the breakthroughs start to happen really, really big. And it's exciting.
It is exciting because I was just posting last night. I started working with a shaman at the beginning of this year. And in one of our sessions, I had such palpitations in my throat. And we were working on that, and I was like, oh, okay, I hope it's nothing with the heart. It's quite far away. I'm like, oh, okay. And then your mind starts going, but then I was like, I'm really anchored in metaphysics. So for me, it was like, okay, what's happening here in an emotional level? And then it went away, and it started coming up really strong the last few weeks. Not consistent, not constant, but just a lot. And so I posted in Facebook. I was like, all right, people, where are my healers? Where are my coaches? What's happening here? And it's so interesting. Like my aunt, she's like an encyclopedia when it comes to medications. And she's like, your aunt had this and they died of this and they had this cancer and this was the thyroid. And I was like, yes, this is when I Googled something and it said I was going to die. So I was like, what's the metaphysical? And then people were bringing things up and I'm going, that's so exciting because that's exactly what it is. All these things, speaking your truth. And I started like, oh, this is so exciting. But one of the things a lot of people were saying, what you mentioned with the exercise, is the yoga and the stretching, because the muscles are restricted. Because it's all
Yes.
that thing of wanting to speak your truth, and it's like, and then I'm like, I need to unstrict. So it's
Yes.
so important. But I haven't done much with the nutrition. But anyway,
Okay.
I've been
I
blessed.
do have a program, so.
Yeah. I've been blessed that I am not, touch wood, whatever, I'm not allergic to anything or react to anything. I just have preferences where I'm like, I don't want to eat haggis because I don't want to eat a sheep's brain. Yes. So tell me, so when your clients come to you, or whoever, or you're reading about someone, where are you starting with them? Are there specific areas where you're going, all right, I'm specializing in diabetes and education, or your guts and intolerance, or other areas that you're specializing in, expanding in? Share with us how it works with you.
Okay, so I have a huge interest in gut health, microbials, and food intolerances. That's like my baby that I love to play with. Where I'm working at the moment, whoever walks through the door gets treated equal, and I'll just listen to where they're at. And sometimes I just do counselling. I just really look at their mind states and reframe with them, help them to see a different way of looking at what's going on their plate and their life at the moment. We might do some EFT or teach them how to do some of that, the tapping. We might do a bit of NLP or look at historic situations and help them to see it in a different light. If it's just food, then we just go what needs to be from the medical model, so because some people aren't aware or open yet to metaphysics or the emotional aspect. So it's really about taking the person where they're at, because I can't force change. It has to come from them. Sometimes I will challenge them and say, well maybe, just maybe there's a different way of doing this. But they really lead me as to what they're safe to do. And I see myself as a consultant. So a consultant never tells a person how to work. They give guidance. And that's the way I see myself. They're actually paying me to consult for them and not to them. Yeah, it's really about seeing where they're at, where they can do. Organ systems are playing up the best or worst, and then what they need on which level. Is it emotional, physical, mental, or just a good old chin wag, get the system cleaned out? And I've done that quite a few times too, especially with the middle-aged men. They just come to chat because they feel heard. They just feel validated that someone is actually hearing their gripes. And sometimes that's all that's needed, just an open ear with no judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Are you for or against, if I can put it that way, CBD, cannabis oil?
I haven't looked into it enough. The public media, the 60 Minutes and the programs like that suggest that it's an excellent way to go. I think it's very political. I think it's definitely at risk of becoming economic, and therefore it becomes a bargaining power and very segregating. I think it has potential risk to be very segregating and still not filtering down to the people who would really benefit, because it's the next big thing. And Big Pharma will not let it go. They will try their hardest to take over. The government will try and get their taxes out of it. And the doctors will still be a control mechanism for them. So I think, unfortunately, it will become a bomb or a cannonball or something like that, where it's just going to be really testy. And I don't like the idea. Yeah, I think it's a high risk situation. If I can put it politely.
That's a great point of view, because that's how things usually work when something comes that's successful, whether it be in business or whatever. If you're not staying true to the essence of what that whatever is, whether it's a product, a service, a brand, or whatever, you're doing disservice, because then the control mechanisms come in, like the government and the farmers and the mafia of whoever's collaborating with who. Like my son said to me this morning, he goes, I think I know, he's 13, why my teeth are so strong and they're not falling out. And I'm going, why? He goes, because I drink so much milk, because milk is so good for your bones. And I'm going, that's a lie. I believe that lie as well. And he's like, what do you mean? So I said, well, and then I explained it to him and he goes, I still like the taste though. So I was like, the taste and what it's actually purposed for is two different things. I also like the taste in my coffee, and he goes, I said, you have to always question everything, my boy. Not everything you hear is true. He's like, oh, okay. Oh, man, Leah, we've come to the end of our interview. And at the end, I ask my guests two questions. One of them being, how do you want to change or challenge the world doing what you do?
I think my biggest challenge at this life stage of my business is really about getting people clear. So helping them to see who they really are, what they want to be, and what they can do to help themselves.
I love that. Yeah, it's important to know how to think for yourself. I was just speaking to someone the other day. We can't think for ourselves. We haven't been taught.
No.
I'd love your input on 3 of my core values for you to fill in the blanks. So creativity for you is?
Oh, there's so many different things. I love playing on my website. I love writing because I've just finished my last book and it's in the publishers at the moment.
Congratulations.
Creativity for me is just expressing who or what I am in whichever way it is, whether it's be around the house, in the garden, drawing. I'm not very good at that, but certainly writing is a big thing for me. I love writing, just getting my thoughts out.
I love that. Passion for you is?
Not really sure because I've been shut down for so long myself. I'm just starting to explore what passion is for me.
Oh, love it.
Yeah, I wasn't ever really allowed to enjoy. So I really don't know what passion is yet. I've had glimpses, but I don't have a passion.
That's so cool. I love it. Love it. Like I said in the beginning, there's messy bits. Oh no, that was a different podcast introduction. But even if you're in the messy part and things aren't clear, you're still learning something. It doesn't mean that you're not learning anything.
Sometimes the messier the better.
Yeah. Robin Sharma also says that as well. The start, there's the messy, and then there's the end bit. That's where you come through. Rocky Balboa at the end. Wisdom for you is?
I like this one. Wisdom is really just doing what you know is right. Having the courage to follow through, even though it goes against social norms or cultural or familial norms. Just being true, just being honest about it and just saying, stuff it. You guys are wrong. It's different. I have to do this.
I love that. Leah, thank you so much for being with us here. I'm so glad that you applied for the podcast and that we were able to delve into your world. Thank you so much. Our listeners can find out more about you in the show notes with the social media handles, your website. They can read your musings, your readings, your writing, find out your books, your favorite book, your favorite quote, and download her ebook where she speaks about nutrition as well in a really cool way. I downloaded it as well. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Pleasure. Thank you. It was great.
Awesome. Have an awesome day. And for the listeners, I will see you next week, and I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. And in the meantime, don't forget to be fast and furious. Yes, and move and shake in your world and the world around you. Love you all and speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.